came across this little lovely piece today, and it just this headline, I almost didn't believe it. I had to do a double take. Disney screenwriter is tired of strong female characters.
What?
So yeah, that one caught me off guard, and I was like, you guys, I got something here. Okay, so this is, I'm going to read just a little bit of this, and then I have sort of a supplementing article that offers a little bit more insight to this. I'm going to show you guys next, but it says one of Disney's most prolific screenwriters has just about had enough of the verbiage about strong female characters. Linda Woolverton, keep an eye on her. She's got some stuff going on, by the way. I'm going to talk a little bit more about her after this, but is the screenwriter responsible for developing Belle into an astute bookworm in Beauty and the Beast. She also had a hand in taking the fiendish Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty and creating a villain among villains. She says she's familiar with the phrase strong female characters, and she's rather sick of it, saying she's heard it for years and years. It's just an easy term, Woolverton said. What does it mean? The famous Disney screenwriter says that there are so many more ways to describe women rather than limiting that description to only one word, strong. She goes further by giving her own take on the definition of a strong female character, explaining that the phrase should mean what the phrase should mean rather than what it usually means in the mainstream. A strong female character is somebody who is proactive in their world, who affects their world, isn't a victim. That was weird to see that. Isn't a victim. Even victimized by it, Woolverton said. Or if they are victimized by it, they take action to change that for themselves. Oh, this woman, man, she's got my heart. Woolverton says that those so-called strong female characters and stories look at the world in interesting ways, and that it is those unique perspectives that serve to make a woman strong if she will stand up and be vocal about her perspectives. And that little thing right here, this is you guys. Everybody here in this little show tonight, women standing up and being vocal about your perspectives. This really just rang true for everyone in the fandom that didn't feel like they had something similar, that people are preaching around them, feeling different and having the confidence to speak out your perspective. That's what kind of brought that to me when I thought that.
Candace, doing that means we've internalized our misogyny.
Yeah, well, maybe some of these Disney screenwriters are starting to figure it all out. The Disney screenwriter says that there are so many ways to describe a woman rather than only referring to her as strong. So this kind of talks a little bit about what else she's done, and I want to briefly just touch on this little part here. After the success Disney enjoyed from its full-length feature film Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in 1937, Walt himself began to work on an adaptation of Beauty and the Beast, but writer after writer found it nearly impossible to tell the story of the beautiful maiden and the prince who had been cursed with the hideous appearance of a monster. So basically, she got into Disney with this film being her big break, and essentially redid the entire film for Walt. And Beauty and Beast is practically it was mostly her work. Belle, all of Belle was her.
I love this woman. I love this woman. I didn't know she existed, and I love her.
Yeah, right. Previous work, she's collaborated with Disney with his Aladdin, Mulan, and co-wrote The Lion King. So she is very well known, and seeing somebody with this much clout in the Disney company stepping forward and having this opinion, I think that's really promising. And I wanted to mention just a couple other things on this subsequent article I found regarding her. Let me see if I can tune in sort of on, let's see. Let me see if I can find that quote. There was right up here. Yes. Okay. So one other thing that kind of boosted this Linda Woolverton to the spotlight is that because she had done the animated versions of Beauty and the Beast and the Lion King, they had not, I guess all the animators and people who were part of those films had not been able to negotiate with Disney regarding the remakes, and they are all making zero on all of these remakes, including the Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, and all that. And that's why she is really wanting to put herself out there doing all these live action Maleficents, because she knows as an animator you're not getting anything anymore. And so yeah, she's expanding herself with Maleficent in that way. Let's see here. For Beauty and the Beast, Woolverton essentially remade the Disney heroine to be a proactive agent of her own story. The earlier princesses, Snow White, Cinderella, and Aurora, always had something happen to them. After Belle, every Disney leading lady made their own choices in their own stories. She says, I don't think a Disney heroine ever went back after that. So what a catalyst kind of moment in Disney's history, to have the lead female making her own decisions and deciding her own destiny, rather waiting for a prince to come save her. And in such a great way, not a way where she's putting those around her down, but in a way where she's just elevating herself.
Well, not just elevating the people around her too. That was one of the reasons. And look, you touch my heart when you talk about Belle, right? I've gone on record. I was even ready to get into it with Anna the other day over look, Belle is my heroine of all heroines, because she represents a sort of feminine, strong femininity, right?
Right.
This ability to go to be around people and to engage them in a way that not only builds you up, but brings them up as well, right?
Exactly.
This sort of sacrificial strength. She could never have taken the Beast and won or beat him in a fight, right?
Exactly.
But never have rushed in and saved her father and run out of the building with him, right? But what she could do was lay herself and her own life down for her father in this sort of sacrificial act, right? So let's not blow this out of the realm of reality, right? Because at the end of the day, women are just simply physically not as strong as males are. So if you pit us against a male, let alone a beast, we're not going to win that fight. But what we can do is we can use our mind, we can use our intellect, and we can engage it in a way that works for us, and to demean us in a way, to give us what it is that belongs to a male and act like it should just inherently belong to a female because reasons, rather than allowing us to play to our, allowing us to use what it is that we can possess, and not that we can't possess physical strength, but chucking that sword in a female's hand and expecting her to be able to conduct herself in the same way that a male would is absolutely ridiculous. And
she touches exactly on this whole gender swapping thing, which made me love her even more, because she's this one's vocal, y'all. I'm curious when Disney's going to put a muzzle on her, because I'm serious. This is someone that is very well known in terms of putting in the history in Disney. So she says strong female characters. It's a phrase that's been more than a little warped today, thrown around as a blanket statement to hype up any movie with a female lead. She thinks the terms become trite. There are so many more facets to a woman that's just strong. She explains, I think it's a catch-all phrase that hopefully we, as we explore the dimensions of female protagonists, will fade away into more specifics about that particular character. The nuance goes further. It's not so easy as swapping out male leads for female leads. Women don't do things the same, don't make the same choices, don't have the same struggles. She says, you don't just take out a male protagonist and plug in a female, put a sword in her hand and call it good, because that's not going to change anything. End quote.
We worked for Disney. Have we seen that before?
Preach. At what point did it become okay for you to chuck a female in a male's role and call it handled? At what point was that any kind of justice done to progressing women? At what point did society wake up and say, okay, well, as long as we just let them do whatever it is that a male does and we shove them into that role, then we're doing right by women? Why is that okay? Why is that enough? When did women accept that as simply being adequate? Because it's not adequate. I want proper representation. If you're going to do it well, or don't do it at all. Don't shove me into that position and say, oh, well, look, you got the same thing as a guy. I don't want the same thing as a guy. I want what works for me.
It's not even about that. When you're telling a story, when you're talking about a story, physical strength has nothing to do with whatever story you're trying to tell about. It's an attribute of the character. If the character is strong, what does that have to do with the struggles that they're going to have to face later on? Mulan being strong wasn't what that was about. It was about her standing up for her family, her taking on a cause that no one believed that she could, and doing what she wanted to do for her father to save China. It had nothing to do with her being physically strong. You can give Rey all the strength, all the training, all the power in the world, but what story do you want to tell with her? What
They need to celebrate.
women to be?
They need to, instead of just making a woman a man on screen without going through a whole like super physical transformation here, just essentially making them male. They need to celebrate the things that really make women strong in real life, like real life women strong, to sort of like just shove those characteristics aside and just take on traditionally male strengths. It's a backhand to women without them really realizing it, or if they do know that and they're just going about this the cheap, easy way, because they assume their audiences are all just shallow. I don't know. It's upsetting.
Do you want us to be strong or do you want us to be empowered? Because there's a difference here. There's a very big difference. And a woman can go bench press a bajillion freaking pounds if she works her way up to that and she gets to that point, I suppose. I suppose it would take a lot of effort or a very special, in terms of genetically speaking, woman to be able to do that. But do you want a woman to be strong or do you want her to be empowered? Do you want her to be able to handle what it is that life throws at her and whatever ingenuity that she may possess to be able to get around those obstacles as best as humanly possible? Or do you want her to just punch it?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a difference.
Even the strong males that they're trying to make the female characters into, them being strong has nothing to do with their story.
Mm.
Even
so I agree 100%. It's just it feels like it's the thing that everyone easily recognizes when it's marketing, when it's marketed, the movie and stuff, because I think by trying to spotlight more nuanced characteristics that strong females have in real life, that's harder to put up in a trailer. Oh, yeah. That's harder to put, you know what I mean? Because you want to show the strength of a man. You can show him leading a cavalry charge. You can show him, busting some reps out and stuff like that. That's easy to see. But there are things that women are particularly strong at that some traditionally, men find it harder to do. And organization and some communicational skills, as much as men like to say that women don't know anything, they babble all day long, blah, blah, blah. Communication is a key thing.
Right? Hella good multitaskers.
There's got to be ways to incorporate that. And I'm going to do a little digging on this Linda woman. I want to know who are her friends, like who does she associate with? Because I guarantee you, if she's going to put herself out here like this, she's in a circle that is safe for her to do so. Right. So I'm going to look at her up a little bit after this because I'm really interested in her now.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. I don't know about you guys. Beauty and the Beast was like, that was my go-to as a kid. That was my family actually grew up. All of the women got assigned Disney princesses. My mother's doing right. Like, so my mom is Cinderella and my sister is Aurora and I am Belle.
Nice.
And I was always very proud of that. And this didn't boil down to just looks, right? Because like my sister may have been blonde and all of that jazz, but my mom did not look like Cinderella. So this boiled down to our sort of attributes, and the joke was, my sister's narcoleptic, so that was sort of why she got battled with Aurora, because she's the most sort of basic bitch of the group, right? This basic bitch. My sister's not a basic bitch, but she was very sleepy all of the time. But my mom, it boiled down to sort of this hard work ethic, right? My mom was this super hard working woman who, if you handed it to her, if you put it in front of her, she would make it happen, and she never gave up. And so I was sort of this bookworm as a kid, and incredibly affectionate and willing to try to love someone, even if it was like a growling, snarling dog. I was like, come here, I'm gonna love you anyway. So I loved Belle because she was sort of this put on this pedestal for me because she had this heart of gold and she was capable of seeing past this outer shell, and that was a strength That was
Yeah.
her strength that you put. This was an empowering thing for her to have, an ability that she used. But it's frowned upon now because you can't look into a person and find what's good about them. Now that's frowned upon. Well, you should just run away from everything that's hard, I suppose.
The judging of character has become such a warped thing these days that it's really what's on the outside versus being able to judge the inside. That's a big part of it to me too. I think so. You know, you can go into like the whole rabbit hole of social media and entertainment and how that has warped a lot of people's minds on who you should be spending time with. But I just love that story so much too. I'm glad you resonate with her, Mary. It's one of my favorite Disney classics too, for sure. Nothing wrong with a prince saving a woman. I think that's great. But when a woman can stand up and save herself, that's also great. So I'm down with it.
I know we have a few super chats we need to get to, Tom. I think we had one from Sith Lord way back there. I don't want to keep. I know you've got a few more as well. Tom's dead. We killed him.
Saw that toxic femininity.
Hey, Jeff, I see you.
What?
I'm looking for the one from Sith Lord, you said.
Lord, I can see if I can find it back here. It doesn't go back that far. We've been yakking.
Well, at least that's a breath of fresh air that we're finally getting some people with some brains that are seeing.
Right?
At least.
Notable ones,
Yeah.
like people that are deep in that Disney,
Yeah.
world filter of things.
Definitely, good for us over here.
I've got it right here, Tom, if you can't
Yeah.
find it.
I found it.
Okay. All right. Let me pull this up here. All right. So $2 from Sith Lord. He says, love live. I think he probably meant long live the fandom menace. But love live the fandom menace and for the love of mayhem. Aw, thank you, Sith Lord. I appreciate you so much, honey bunny. He's one of my patrons over on Patreon as well.
Nice.
And I know he had a few more, Tom. Love you, Sith Lord. He's the reason I have my Obi-Wan Kenobi lightsaber that's hiding back behind my green screen.
Is that Alan?
We got $2 from Rosetta Allen. She says, Belle was one of my nicknames, my spirit sister. It's interesting how many women connect with Belle on such a deep level because it does sort of resonate with you, that sort of inner strength, right?
Because a female screenwriter wrote her.
Love it. And then we got $2 from the Rookie Critic. He says, "Hello, hey Rookster, what's up, man? All the love to you. If you guys haven't checked out Rookie Critic, you should definitely go subscribe to his channel.
I love her.
You should be able to relate to your characters. That's definitely a big part of it. If you can't relate, you can't put yourself in that position and sympathize with those characters, then it's just all for show."
Mm-hmm. We got another super chat from the Rookie Critic. Oh, I love you, Ricky. I freaking love you. I don't know if you got it there, Tom. So $2 from the Rookie Critic. He says, how does this not have 500 viewers watching? We're moving on up. We're doing pretty well. I think.
Well, it's because it's on After Dark.
That's probably why. No. These conversations are fit for prime TV there, Tom.
After Dark is like the UHF of YouTube. I get it. Okay, we suck.
No,
we don't suck. Don't take it out on these lovely ladies. Take it out on me. Take it out on Rob. It's mostly his fault. That is all.
So, yeah, I love this article. Candace, this was such a find. It was such a fantastic find. So freaking.
Yeah, I'm glad that you have me on today. I never would have found it if I wasn't coming here. So, you know what I mean?
I found pizza. That's what I found.
Dude, she came in like guns a-blazing for this. She was like, I'm going to come in with a toxic female article. It's going to be the best toxic female article that's ever been existed in the
Not even just the toxic female article. She had like context to the article about the person. Like she's ready to go.
Guns blazing, Candace.
Yeah, so I liked school when I was younger. If that means anything, I dig homework, and I take notes. So
Yes, my freaking note-taking sister over there.
yeah, I can't live without my notes. So yeah, when I found out that I forgot that we had to bring an article, I was like, oh crap. And did some digging and was lucky to see this. I'm really happy that I know of this woman's name now, because she's going to be my spirit animal, and I'd like to be her one day. Just being able to talk about that in the midst of working for a company that is obviously not thinking the same way.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. We do have a $5 super chat from Loquacious Primate. He says, I don't recall Anna criticizing Belle for lacking physical strength. It was that she acted in a way that one may find manipulative and didn't love Beast. I've never had this full flight. We've never gotten into it. I've never actually gotten into the conversation with Anna. And I think that's just a measure of respect that we were like the one time we talked about it, we bordered on the edge of having that conversation. I will say this, and I've never actually heard Anna myself, her argument against Belle. Here's what I will say. To accuse Belle of not actually loving the Beast seems counterintuitive to the very fact that he was transformed back into a human because she did love him. Of course she loved him. I'm not sure what the arguments to say, what is the argument to say that she didn't love him? She grew to love him. That was one of my favorite parts about Beauty and the Beast, was that it wasn't a 3-second romance. There was time.
She got to know him, and that's the point.
Yeah.
It takes a moment to learn what someone is about. You can easily assume by looking at what they look like,
Mm-hmm.
but taking the time to get to know somebody in that way can oftentimes make you feel things for that person that otherwise you wouldn't have felt. I think it is that simple. It's something that's very relatable to, I think, most women. That especially if they're looking for love in that kind of way, something that means something. A lot of times we see a lot of beasts, and not necessarily looking that same way. They're more beastly on the inside than the outside. And so having a film that kind of shows what we should be looking for. It's not so much the looks. And then those fade anyway. And our looks are going to fade too.
Exactly. And I think that it was meant to push forward you were meant to understand that was the depth of her soul, that she could see past that exterior and actually fall in love with someone who may have been a beast externally, but she looked past that. She found within him something sweet and almost kind. He was mean and he was coarse and unrefined, but now he's dear, and she found the love of, he's so unsure. He's creeping forward with the bird seed and he's trying so hard. Come on, little birds, get in my hand. And she's just sitting there going, oh. And what woman in that situation wouldn't go, oh, you're so sweet? I mean,
I think that's why they had her be a book reader, because it's such a proper characteristic or a proper personality trait for someone like that. Someone who's willing to take the time to get to know the story rather than judge the book on the cover. I mean, it's so perfect in so many ways. And I mean, there's a lot there that you can chew on in terms of why she is the way she is. They give you a lot of reasons why. And I think it's a simple story that people like to pick apart, but I think that the essence of it is simple and relatable.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't agree with the notion that she was a gold digger. I think that she would have been happy. What we understood of Belle, what we got to know of her as a person, she would have been happy to leave with her father and never return.
Yeah, she was saving her dad, and if she was that way, she would have been all about she literally turned down Gaston, which is the one everybody wanted, and so I don't get that part of the argument.
Yeah.
The castle's all nasty looking too. The castle's all ugly and scary, and
you got to drink out of a teapot that's not you. This is not the life you want, right? This is not what you're pursuing. Every woman in this town is after Gaston, but she sees what what a beast he is on the inside. And she turns him down. A gold digger would not do that. She would have shacked up with the first well-to-do guy that crossed her path, and certainly the most well-to-do guy in her town. But instead, she sacrificed herself and laid it down for her father, and wound up in a position to get to know someone on a much more intimate level. And because Belle was who she was capable of seeing past the exterior, just like she was able to do with Gaston.
I love it.
I'm more of an Alice in Wonderland girl myself, but
Well, wouldn't you, just so you know, Linda Woolverton had a part in that as well.
I,
And Alice. And Alice.
Absolutely masterfully done. So so yeah, I don't think we have any more super chats. Do we want to wrap up final thoughts on this or anything? So we've been going for closing in on like an hour and a half. We're closing in on like an hour 40 now.
I'm down for final thoughts.
Yeah. Why don't we start off down there in the bottom right with Megs, and then we'll just go around.
I just think that it's awesome, like I said, that we finally have someone on our side that thinks the way that we all do about all this woke crap. And finally, there's someone that speaks a little bit about us, about these strong women, and how that blanket term gets used way too often, and how we need more actual stories with these strong women and all of that good stuff. So yeah, so thank you, Candace, for finding this awesome article. I agree with Mary, because we needed that information, and we needed to know of this Linda Woolverton lady. We needed that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
We needed her on our radar.
Miss Madeir.
It's really interesting to see someone who's there from the beginning. From, what was it, 1970? Was that the year? But
I think 1990, but it's close. Yeah.
1990. Okay, I thought I heard the year 1973
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah.
But
1937 was original, but yeah, no.
Yeah. In the 1990s, for a woman to be in that role and to create those stories, and to be here now saying this strong woman stuff it's not right. This isn't how this is. This isn't how stories work. This isn't how you relate characters to the audience. It's women connect with characters that are like them. And you can't just magically make women these strong, almost manly types, but also somehow not equally feminine, and expect us to like it and call them strong female characters, and then say everyone's a sexist because they don't like them. That's not how stories work. And it's really, it's good that there's that voice is there.
Absolutely. And I'll give Candace the last word on her article here, just because I think I feel like, gosh, what you have to say has been so potent tonight. God, I freaking love you, Candace. But no, I would.
love you too.
I would reiterate what the girls have already said myself, and I would say that I'm proud and I'm honored to see a woman who recognizes the difference between a strong woman and an empowered woman. And I think that women should, in fact, seek to be empowered, where the internal strength of a person is far more important than whether or not they're able to walk up to a problem and just smash through it, right? Because you can have all of the strength in the world, but if your head is just a brick and you have no idea what you're doing, then you're not really very much good to anyone. And women do, I agree with Miss 100%. We don't identify with a woman who's standing there swinging a lightsaber like a baseball bat, right? Because that's not how we operate. Women do not function the same way as males. We function in our own unique way, and it's okay. These differences are okay. We're allowed to have them, and to treat us as though there's something wrong with us for acknowledging the differences between masculinity and femininity is not our problem. It's yours. So let us be empowered, and don't try to knock us down a peg or two when we speak up and we say, but no, you're not right, because we're using our empowered feminine voices. And just because they don't happen to agree with yours doesn't mean we're wrong and you're right. It just means you're not listening to the women you wanted to empower so much. Candace. Sorry.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I'll say this. This lady is a savage, and here's why. The timing of this is impeccable. One of the biggest franchises that Disney sunk its hooks into in a long time is doing its final trailer of the final of this whole saga, okay? And she puts this article out right when this happens. I mean, yeah, um, she's brave, and I think that more women like her who have those kinds of opinions need to be able to have that same confidence and come forward with those, because they might be surprised at how many people like us believe in the same sorts of values and ideals. I relate this a lot to the women of the fandom, because up until maybe a few months back, you know, I'm a suburban housewife, and I don't fall in lockstep with a lot of people that believe certain things about all suburban housewives and what we like and what we don't like and who we are, and you know, being able to stumble upon a group like the Fandom Menace with lots of women who are able to voice their opinion in very, very smart ways, without bringing others around them down, rather boosting others up. It's so refreshing to see, and it's therapy for a lot of people like me who felt like they wanted to say something but didn't have the way or didn't know where to say it. Yeah, I feel like this Linda, she's our girl. She's our girl, and I'm down with that. I like it. I like knowing we've got a team member in the you know, in the beast, so to speak.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. And I agree with you. God, she makes my heart flutter. And she freaking helped create Belle. Couldn't get any better than that.
Yeah. Amazing.
Couldn't get any better than that.